If you want to avoid expensive repair bills, make sure you get regular maintenance for your AC unit. The regular price for AC tune-ups are normally around $70 to $250. Well, guess how much it's going to cost you gun owner radio listeners? $17.76. That's right, listeners. If you go to Straight Shooters AC, they will give you a 15-point tune-up for a ridiculous price of $17.76. Why is the price so low? Because they have a heart for the people in our community. Just straight up, honest service you can trust. Call Straight Shooter Heating and Cooling today at 619-922-3937 for $17.76. AC tune-up, no bull, just cool, or book online at straightshooter.ac. That's straightshooter.ac.
Yeah, this is the time to call Straight Shooter, too, in between the summer rush, and before the winter rush. So call them. $17.76, guys. You can't.
And they do heating, too, so.
Yeah, all of that. Hey, thanks to everybody who came to the presidential debate watch party a week ago, and then in a week from Tuesday, we're going to have the vice presidential debate party. It's a watch party down in Hazard Center. There's a movie theater down there that we're going to take over, and we're going to show you the debate. But before the debate starts, we're actually going to have some guests come in and talk about why you should vote yes on Prop 36. So we don't actually take, San Diego County gun owners, we don't take a stance on Prop 30 or on many props unless they're directly related to guns. But Prop 36 is fairly interesting, and I got to tell you, I personally think you should vote yes after learning about it. But you should come down and check it out and hear for yourself. Plus, it'll be a really good time. Watching the VP debate party, everyone together. You can have a drink, sit in your lazy boy, and have a really good time in this theater. So to sign up, more information, go to facebook.com/SDCGO, SDCGO. And there's information pinned to the top of the page. All you got to do is go to the website. You can buy tickets online or use the QR code and buy tickets that way. So come join the fun and watch to see who you're going to vote for vice president, anyway, in the next election. Had a couple of questions. Our Q&A section here, a couple of pretty interesting questions. There's actually a couple of things that we're going to talk about a little later in the show, too. There's some really interesting questions that are coming in. But the first is, somebody wrote from Riverside and said, why is the psych evaluation so expensive? And that's a really good question. He's trying to get a CCW, and the psychological evaluation that they require is like $200. Now, here's the thing. This is kind of a multi-layer question. First off, if you go through the county of Riverside, meaning you go through Sheriff Bianco, there is no psych evaluation. And by the way, calling this thing a psych evaluation is a little misleading. It's actually a personality test. So you must be going through one of the cities like Marietta, who issues through their police chief and require you to take this personality test and spend an additional $200. If you don't want to spend that additional $200 and you don't think that you should have to take a personality test, then go through the sheriff. Go through Sheriff Bianco. Check out his website. At San Diego, we don't have anything like that, so you don't have to worry about it here in San Diego. Orange, go through the sheriff. You don't have anything like that. There's just a few cities in Riverside that refuse to budge, and they still make you get this personality test, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous. $200 to see if you have the same personality as law enforcement. So that was a good question. Glad you asked. The answer is don't take it. Don't do the psychological evaluation, a.k.a. the personality test. Go through the county. Do they contact your references? So SB2 required folks to get references before they're issued a CCW. The short answer is yes. They contact your references. Super easy. Hey, do you know this person? I've seen them do it through email. I've seen them do it through phone. They don't really give a whole lot of information. They just kind of say, hey, so-and-so said that you're a reference, thumbs up, thumbs down. And but the answer is they do. They don't get intrusive. They don't put them on the spot and, demand a bunch of answers. But the short answer is yes, they do. Voter registration. Okay, so voter registration, if you're not registered to vote, go to sdcgo.org. On the homepage, we have voter registration. You can click right through, and We actually sent out a couple of emails over the last couple of weeks about voter registration. The reality is you can register to vote all the way up to the day of voting. But the sooner you register, the more guaranteed it will go smoothly. Because they do certain checks, and if they have questions, if you register the day that you vote, November, and on the last day, if they have any questions or problems, you might not be eligible. So it's best to register to vote ASAP. Register to vote right now, and that way they can come back to you and say, "Hey, we had a question about your address, or we had a question about the spelling of your name, or something like that," and you can get it cleared up. Right then and there. So voter registration, register right now to vote in November, and do it quick. Go on our website, register to vote, and then also actually vote. This was pretty interesting. Someone asked, how long can I be expired, my CCW, and still go through the renewal process rather than completely start over? So this person forgot that their CCW was about to expire, and they were about just short of 60 days expired. And they wanted to know how long they could go without having to start all over, because the renewal process is a little bit easier, a little bit more streamlined than the initial process. Certainly the timeline is shorter on the renewal than it is on the initial. So I went to the Sheriff's Department directly. If you look online, a lot of people give you all kinds of different answers. 30 days, 90 days, no grace period. I've seen all kinds of different answers. The definitive answer, the accurate answer from the Sheriff's Department directly, and I was really surprised by this, 2 years. You can actually be expired for 2 years and still go through the renewal process rather than the initial process. Also related, within the next couple of months, they're updating everything so that your expiration and issue date are basically the same date. Because right now, if you renew, let's say you renew 45 days prior to expiration, well, then you're not getting 2 years. You're really getting, a year and 11 months. So it's cutting into your CCW time. So from now, they're not quite doing it yet, but here in the next couple of months, I'm promised and told that they are going to make your issue date the same as your expiration date, which will save everybody a little bit of time and a little bit of money. Auto renew. I get a lot of questions about auto renew. When folks sign up for San Diego County gun owners, there is the option to auto renew, and in fact, you have to say that you don't want to auto renew. The default is auto renew, and people ask me about that. Well, there's a couple of things. We can't keep your credit card on file with San Diego County gun owners. In other words, I don't have access to your credit card. There's a third party that has access to your credit card, and that's for everybody's safety and security. So I couldn't charge your card if I wanted to. San Diego County gun owners couldn't initiate a transaction even if we wanted to. We don't actually have access to your card. The third party does, and if you don't tell them that you don't want to auto renew, then you're automatically going to renew. And so why is that helpful to us? Well, because we have 4,000 members. By the way, Dave, we just went over 4,000 members.
Wow, that's awesome.
4,000 and I think 4 members as of today. Very, very happy about that. But the thing is, we can't keep up with all those members. The auto renew will take hours and hours and days for us to go back to members and say, hey, you're expired. Hey, you're expired. So by making sure that you're on auto renew and that's your default, saves us so much time so that we can go do more Second Amendment stuff rather than chase down folks and say, hey, do you mind renewing? Hey, do you mind renewing? So that's why. So there you go. There's your Q&A for the week.
Hey, just remember, when the Founding Fathers drafted the Second Amendment, they were confirming the right for the public to own, carry, and defend themselves. With the most advanced weapons currently in existence, they would have loved the AR. That was a post from John Dillon on X. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws, so put his number on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon's California firearms lawyer at 760-642-7150. All right, our guest today is the one and only, the notorious John Petrolino, the Pen Patriot. How are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Michael. How are you?
Good. It's so good to hear from you.
It's great to be chatting with you, too. Who all's in the studio this evening?
We got Super Dave and me.
Nice. Well, how we doing, Dave?
Doing wonderful. How about you?
I'm fantastic. So what do you got cooking tonight for me, Michael?
Okay, so why don't we kick it right off with you're coming into town, right?
I am. I'm heading your way on Thursday. I'll be there probably around noon on Thursday.
And that's for the Gun Rights Policy Conference, which is in town all week. Well, it's Saturday and Sunday, and then there's also something on Friday. So talk a little bit about what brings you to town and why GRPC is important.
Sure. So in case anybody doesn't know that's listening in, the Gun Rights Policy Conference is co-hosted between the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. And these are two of the CCRKBA is, I think, the oldest lobbying organization in the country for Second Amendment related topics, predating NRA, ILA. And Second Amendment Foundation, as you know, has been heavily involved in a ton of litigation across the country, which I'll point out that the McDonald case was a Second Amendment Foundation case, which is a very important case that overthrew the Chicago ban on handguns. But what it did, more importantly, is it incorporated the Second Amendment to the states via the 14th Amendment. So these organizations get together every year and they host what's called the Gun Rights Policy Conference. And it's a gathering annually where you get to hear from some of the movers, the shakers, and the people who are heavily involved in activism and advocacy across the country.
And it's free.
It's free, yes. And all you need to do is pre-sign up. So to give a full rundown of what's going on is on Friday. So that's the 27th, Friday the 27th at 8 a.m. is a conference called the AMCON, which stands for the Alternative Mass Media Conference. And this is a place where some of your new media types and gun writers and budding gun writers and bloggers and journalists and YouTubers can all get together and learn from each other. And the inception of the AMCON came around was I believe one of the founders of AMCON, she had headed out to some blogging conferences somewhere, and when they found out that she was involved in gun stuff, they kind of treated her like a pariah. This is Gail Pepin, Mas Ayoub's wife, who was going out to these conferences. And, she came and brought it back to colleagues about how there should be a place where we could go where we're not going to get judged and we could just work on our work and not worry about what the work is about, right? And if you really think about what good journalism is actually supposed to be, it's supposed to be about facts. It's not supposed to be about everything else that we're being led to believe it is now, right? Because we turn on the news and it's not like we're getting Walter Cronkite's news anymore. We're getting a lot of opinion, right?
A lot of slanted opinion and a lot of opinion that's coming all from one side. There isn't really a lot of two sides or let alone three or four sides. So yeah, it's kind of journalism has turned into us against them, which is I think it's horrible.
Right. So the AMCON conference is a place where pro-Second Amendment voices can get together to learn from each other to hone their craft. So that's a conference that's going to be going on Friday, and you do need to do a separate registration for that. So you could do that at amcon.org, I believe, is the URL for that. And the Second Amendment Foundation's GRPC, now that's going to be running. It kicks off on Friday night. There's a reception. So Friday night, then there's conference all day Saturday, and then half a day Sunday as well. And that also requires a registration, and you could go to saf.org/GRPC sign up for that. And if anybody has any questions that are listening and you really want to go and you can't figure out where to register, you can always email me at john@thepenpatriot.com. I'll happily direct you to where you need to go.
Yeah, they have it nicely laid out. If you go to saf.org and then, /GRPC, they have the conference schedule, and there is a link to the AmCon where you can register as well there. But it's all in one place. Friday the 27th, 8 a.m. to 5 is AmCom. And then Friday, that same day, 7 to 9 is a reception. And then Saturday, 8 to 5:30 is GRPC, and it's down in Mission Valley. It actually, everything starts at 7:30. You can go as early as 7:30, but I think they kick it off at 8. And then they also have a reception Saturday night from 5:30 to 7:30, and then Sunday 9 to noon. GRPC conference registration opens at 8:45 that day.
Yeah, and I heard that there's actually going to be some really, really cool cats speaking at GRPC proper, and I think one, Michael Schwartz, I think you have a talk.
I'm going to be there.
I think you're speaking, aren't you?
You're going to get to hear from me. I'm of course the lowest on that totem pole. There's some really heavy hitters, including, I think, Masad Ayub, right?
I believe he's on the list. Yes.
Yeah. And then I don't know if who I think I'm most excited about is that SAS dude in Africa. Do you remember he went into, there was like a mall where there was some mass murderer that was hurting people, and this guy happened to be in Africa for a training mission, is my understanding. And so he had all his stuff in his trunk, and so he kitted up and went in there and took care of business and saved a bunch of people. You remember what I'm talking about?
I do. Is he on the list?
He's on the list.
Oh, that's perfect. So, Michael, what are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about, at the suggestion of the Penn Patriot, I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about our victory with CCWs. I don't think enough people really know, not just the story, but how we did it, the nuts and bolts. We didn't just say, "Hey, we sure would like CCWs," and then they magically appeared. Back in 2015, when we formed, you really couldn't get a CCW in San Diego, and less than 2 years later, you could. And then it was mentioned. Our success was actually mentioned in the Bruin case. So I really want to go back and kind of talk step by step. How did that happen? It wasn't just a coincidence. We didn't just throw a fit. It had nothing to do with a court victory. It had to do with good old-fashioned influence, activism, and working hard. And I'd really like to paint that picture for people so they can see it clearly.
Well, I'm very much so looking forward to hearing you tell that story. And I think it's an important story to tell. And like you said, you highlighted something that is very important, and it's almost an outlier because you did this without litigation. San Diego County Gun Owners has not traditionally been a litigation-oriented group. However, you're now thrown into that fray, and I think you're happy to. But honestly, the group was formulated to be more of lobbying and getting the work done on the peer-to-peer level, correct?
Yep. Yeah, and I want to give people arrows for their quiver. There's nothing I'm going to say. If you're not fired up about Second Amendment, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to fire you up about Second Amendment. And if you're there, you're already fired up about Second Amendment. So I'm not going to give a big rah-rah speech. I really want to talk about some nuts and bolts, and I want people to walk away with, like I said, arrows for their quiver, tools for their toolbox, and really understand what activism is and what it can do and what it should look like. Because I admittedly, I was a little frustrated with how reliant people were on lawsuits. The Second Amendment community was just kind of like, someone will sue, and I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. And I thought, well, there's a lot of things we can do to make the future the way we want it to be, the way we envision. We kind of had gotten away from good old-fashioned activism. So I really want to, like I said, I want to paint that picture. We have a lot of victories. We have a lot of small and medium-sized victories, But that CCW victory is probably our biggest, probably our best known, and I don't think people really know the ins and outs of exactly what happened. So I have you to thank for suggesting that I talk about it. So yeah, what about you? What are you gonna? You're talking, right?
I am. So I'm giving at AmCon. So I will be presenting on Friday, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on transitioning from opinion to news. And I'm going to be speaking about how you have people that might be starting out doing a lot of blogging, and then how you can phase that into more of a refined journalism, right? Not to say that there's anything wrong with blogging, because blogging is very, very important. But something that I talk about during my presentation is the ability to say, okay, this is journalism versus this is yellow journalism, or this is opinion, or this is smear, and why that's important for the work that we do, and areas in my life where I was working, and how having that severability or that non-bias, or I should say maybe minimal bias in the work, to let it stand on its own, and it's not just straight up attacking, say, a government agency or a lawmaker or whatever, and sticking to the facts, and how using that is important. So
Good.
That's basically
that's arrows for your quiver too. I think that's really good information. Okay, we're going to go to a commercial real quick, John, and then we'll continue on the other side.
Hey, a lot of gun owners complain about California's horrible gun control laws, but if gun owners voted, then we wouldn't have these horrible gun control laws. Make sure your voice is heard on November. Your votes make a difference. In city and county elections, your vote has the most impact. That's why we need your help to get more pro-2A officials elected. Get the San Diego County Gun Owners Voter Guide to help get pro-gun officials elected. Download it to sdcgo.org/voter guide. Get it today and share it with a friend.
All right, we're talking to the Penn Patriot, John Petrolino, who's going to be in town this weekend for the Gun Rights Policy Conference hosted by SAF, Second Amendment Foundation, or SAF, as I like to call them. SAF.org. Check out saf.org/GRPC and register. It's totally free. Come on out. Have a good time with us. Come to the reception. Go up and say hi to John. Come up and say hello to me. Listen to our spiel. And, of course, MC Charlie Cook is going to be there. So it should be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to it. Do you go to this every year, John?
I went actually only once in 2022. So that was the last time I was able to go. But it's on my list of things to do if I'm able to make it.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time. I know it's the first time in San Diego. I don't know if it's the first time in California, but I think it's the first time in California, too.
I'm not 100% sure about that, because they do bounce around the country. They are not shy to go to California, because, let's face it, there's a lot of the fight in California. And the other inconvenient truth for the people there in Sacramento is you do have a very robust, large gun-owning community in California. So
yeah, we do.
It doesn't not make sense to have it in California. It kind of does make sense.
Do you think the rest of the country we do have a ton of gun owners in California, and I don't think people understand just how many gun owners we have in California. Do you think the rest of the country sees it that way, or?
No, because they see it for what it is. It's the bulldozing that we get on election night when we see the caucus votes, and how it's going to be giving us labels on our mattresses across the country, because California, drives the bus on so many ridiculous things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty well put. Yeah, by the way, I double-checked the website. Christian Craighead. He's the guy. He's the SAS guy who went and saved all those folks. I'm just briefly looking. It's on their website. And then there's Charlie Cook. Did you see his profile picture on this website? Man, that guy's good. Like holding a shotgun over his shoulder.
Charlie's a fine specimen, and I'll say hello to Charlie. He might be listening. He might not. I do have a question for you, though, Michael,
Yes, sir.
and this is one of the age-old questions. When it comes to moving and shaking, are you a mover or are you a shaker?
I think it depends on the crowd around me. I might be a little bit more of a shaker than a mover.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It depends on the crowd, though. Depends on the crowd. What about how do you identify? Do you identify as a mover or shaker?
I do both. I'm like that. I'm selfish. I'm a selfish advocate. I'm a mover and shaker. So AmCon, you are coming into AmCon, right? So you're going to be there all weekend?
Yeah, I'll be there Friday. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, and there's a bunch of Tom Gresham's there. Congressman Darrell Issa is going to be there. Alan Gottlieb, that's a big deal. There really are.
Sure.
Adam Kraut, Donald Kilmer. There really are a lot of people coming to this thing. This is a really cool event.
And this is your first GRPC/AmCon combination that you're going to, right?
Yes. Never been.
What are you thinking, or what are you expecting to get, let's say, out of AmCon? What are you most excited about? I think we have other friends that are presenting too, right? Very close to Gun Owners Radio, I should say.
Yeah. What am I looking to get at? Gosh, that's a good question. I honestly, I don't even know what to expect. So, I hope I hear some interesting talks. I hope I meet some interesting people. There's so much going on in the gun world right now. I hope that a lot of people are inspired by other people, and it expands and perfects their efforts, when they go back to wherever they came from and they continue to fight for the Second Amendment. I think that's probably the best way of putting it.
Okay, that's cool. Well, I'm really excited. I hope that people listening in really do consider coming to both conferences if they can. And again, this is a free event. All you need to do is pre-register. And again, you do that at saf.org/GRPC and then AmCon, AMMCON.org. And that's where you register for that event too. And we would love to have you out there. If not, just to stop by and say hello to a fine gentleman like Michael Schwartz. He'll be there. And this is in your town, San Diego. So this is your opportunity to meet the rest of the gun activists that come from all over the country annually to meet and talk about preserving our civil liberties.
Amen. So we're almost to Q4 of 2024. And I think 2024 was a big Second Amendment year. A lot happened. What are your thoughts on the direction of things, and whether it's lawsuits or culture or activism? The elections coming here in less than a couple months. We've had a lot of major lawsuits, some ups, some downs. What's your take, man? Where are we headed? Give me some prophecies.
Ever since June of 2022, the Second Amendment news, as far as a topic goes, trying to cover it has been like drinking from a fire hose. So there is a tremendous amount of stuff going on, and like you said, in all of those areas. What are my predictions? I don't know if I have predictions as much as I have hopes at this point. I predicted in the past some of the Bruin response stuff, spreading, and it did, like to Massachusetts. I called that like Babe Ruth calling his shot. I said, hey, it's going to come to the Bay State, and sure as heck it did. But I think we're done with the big Bruin response push for Wave 1. Maybe Wave 2 Bruin response push is going to be how the anti-gunners go after the actual use of firearms, defensive gun use. And I think that might be something that gets into the crosshairs. But like I said, more of what I have are hopes than predictions. And my hopes are that, number one, first and foremost, the current makeup of the Supreme Court stays exactly as it is for as long as possible. Because when we talk about this is the biggest, most important election of our lifetimes, I don't think it would be hyperbolic to say that about this one and the next upcoming elections after this election cycle, because if I say we as in liberty-minded folks lose the Supreme Court, I believe that the entire country is in peril and the entire republic. We're not just talking about gun rights. We're talking about the kitchen sink. And unfortunately, there are, persons that are coming into the Supreme Court or that, administrations would like to see in the Supreme Court that would usurp our fundamental rights and liberties. And, we're just a vacancy or two away from this becoming a very, very big problem for us.
I think you're right. I don't think that can be overstated. I think that whatever you think about Trump, if you're a Second Amendment advocate, he changed significantly the Ninth Circuit Court, and he definitely changed the Supreme Court. And it's far more pro Second Amendment than I think it's ever been. I think it's far more pro Second Amendment than it has ever been, which is kind of crazy to think about. I mean, historically, we haven't had a lot of good decisions from judges, let alone the Supreme Court. I mean, there legislatively have been far more restrictions than there have been assurances of freedom. So for us to be in the situation that we're in, I really do think the wind is at our back. I do think that we're positively changing the culture. We're using social media and video and articles and everything at our disposal to change the culture to be pro-Second Amendment. I think we're doing a bang-up job of using the courts to change Second Amendment for the positive. And then elections, I think it's getting better and better. I mean, even Kamala is telling us that she's a gun owner, and I don't know if you saw the latest video, but just last week she said that she told Oprah she's a gun owner, and if someone breaks into her house, they're getting shot. And I thought, okay, well first off, she's nowhere near pro-Second Amendment. She's playing to a crowd and pretending that she's something that she's not. But second, for someone in her position running, where she's running, for her to feel that she has to play to that crowd, that she has to present that kind of face to gun ownership, is in a way kind of a small victory. Like even when your enemies even acknowledge that they have to be more like you, I think it's a small cultural victory.
Well, sure. And if we get that needle to continue to move, and if we don't have to argue about the Second Amendment issue anymore, then we can argue about everything else. I just think that the Second Amendment issue is the number one most important one, because if we do lose it, we lose everything else. I firmly believe that the only thing that's separating complete tyranny across the globe is the American gun owner, because this is the last bastion of free people in the world. We're not just saying in North America. We're not just saying, in the United States we have these free states. No, the United States is what's standing between all of the garbage that's going on in all of these other countries. That's disgusting.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So where can people find more of your work, John?
You can find me on my website, thepenpatriot.com. I write for Bearing Arms, AmmoLand, Truth About Guns, Shooting News Weekly. Primarily, I roll most of my work out over at Bearing Arms. But if you go to thepenpatriot.com, there's a link to my link tree. You can follow my work there. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter at thepenpatriot.com. And if you want to drop me a line, send me an email, john@thepenpatriot.com. I would love to hear from you. I'm also talking at GRPC proper, so I'm going to be covering systemic racism in New Jersey's permitting system. So that's something that I'm going to be talking about, so I hope you all can come on out, and I'd like to see you there.
See you Thursday, man.
Hey, if you want tactical gear at an affordable price, you need to check out Condor Outdoor. Whether you're a military professional, law enforcement officer, or you just simply an avid outdoorsman, Condor products are designed to be versatile, durable, and above all, reliable. So if you're looking for the best in tactical gear, look no farther than Condor Outdoor. Use code GOR for a 15% discount off the website, CondorOutdoor.com, CondorOutdoor.com. And don't forget to use the GOR discount code for a 15% discount.
Okay, like we've been talking about, there's a big election happening, and ballots drop soon. And last day to vote, of course, first week of November. So we wanted to talk about some of the local elections here in San Diego that are extremely important. So we have a very special guest, Melanie Burkholder, who is a city council member in Carlsbad, and she's also elected to the Central Committee for the Republican Party, and she knows the landscape of the local elections as good as anybody. So I'm having her on the show here today to talk about all of that. Melanie, how you doing?
Hey, Mike. I am better than I deserve. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Thanks for taking the time. So, what's exciting out there for local elections? What do you have your eye on, or what's particularly interesting to you?
Well, I'd like to start with Carlsbad, of course, because that's my city. So, we've got two amazing candidates running for seats 2 and 4 on the Carlsbad City Council. Mm-hmm. Now, seat 2 is actually an appointed individual right now, so she, by our muni code, can't run for the seat. So we've got two candidates running for that. One is Tyler Collins, who is endorsed by your organization.
Yep, good guy.
And very good guy. And the others, whose name I won't mention. We've got a great chance to keep this. This seat used to be our mayor, Keith Blackburn's seat, and when he won the mayor's seat, we had to appoint someone to fill that spot. So it's a winnable seat if you are a Republican, for sure. And if you have common sense, we have a big lack of that going on at times. And so I'm really rooting for Tyler, of course. The other seat is Teresa Acosta's seat. She's the current incumbent. That's District 4 in Carlsbad. Her opponent is a guy named Greg Day, who also is endorsed by gun owners.
Yes, he is.
Thank you for that. He is an amazing candidate. I've spent time at his events. I've raised money for him. He's endorsed by the party as well as myself and Supervisor Desmond, former Mayor Matt Hall, and the LAPA organization. So he's different from the incumbent in really how we view responsibility and capability of government. He actually respects individual freedoms and decision-making, and he's not owned by the unions, which you can see in the flyers that have been dropping in the mailbox are sponsored by the unions for his opponent. So basically, she's a typical progressive Democrat, loyal to the state, and he's really loyal to Carlsbad and will not be using this as a stepping stone to move up to higher office, in my opinion.
So both these guys, these are both winnable seats. This isn't like a Hail Mary or a suicide run. They're both winnable seats. And if these guys win, to be honest with you, if either of these guys win, let alone both of them, it will, I would say, significantly change the face of Carlsbad's city council as far as politically. Am I right about that?
You're 100% correct, and I can't tell you how often I have been the lone no vote on the council, just like recently my colleagues decided to pass a smoking ban in multifamily unit housing, so that's apartments and condos. And I consider it an extreme overreach of government because I'm not trying to go into someone's home to tell them what they can do inside their home. And what's next? I mean, they sold it in the name of health. Well, drinking is bad too. Are we going to go now say you can't drink in your own home? Where does this go? And at what end? So
you have two winnable races in the city of Carlsbad that will absolutely change the makeup of Carlsbad, a city of like 110,000 people. This is a huge opportunity, and the reason I want Melanie, I want you to come on and talk about these, is to really hammer home that I know everybody's paying attention to the White House, and I know that people are paying attention to Congress, but man, you can actually change things for the better right here in San Diego County, and there's some real ways to do it.
That's right, and these candidates are out knocking on doors. They're doing their fundraising. They're getting ready to spend all their money in October And I mean, they're doing everything right. If you think about the city of Vista, we've got amazing candidates there. Denise Berrigan is running against the far left progressive incumbent Katie Melendez, who sat on Sandag with me and was completely devoid of common sense. And then we have Jeff Fox running against Anthony White for the other seat. So both Republicans got many different endorsements, including San Diego gun owners. And Jeff also got firefighters in Vista, which was huge. Katie Melendez got the sheriff's endorsement, but it came to light that she had some racist comments about the DSA, along with her anti-2A positions. So they ended up moving that endorsement, and they have to see how the firefighters are going to come in for Katie. But if they don't, then we're looking at Republicans taking back the Vista City Council too, which is huge.
Which would be a big step in taking back Sandag, right?
Correct.
Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say I could use some help on Sandag as well. We have a lot going on. As you know, they're putting that half-cent sales tax increase on the ballot, and we are definitely anyone that pays taxes would be against that, in my opinion. So that's potential. And then in Oceanside, we've got Peter Weiss running for re-election for District 4 against two left-leaning candidates, which is good to have two left-leaning and one conservative running at the same time. And then we've got Laura Bassett running for District 3, also against three opponents. Her main opponent, Jimmy Figueroa, serves on the Police and Fire Commission, and get this, he didn't get their association's endorsement. So
they know him best, and they decided not to endorse him. Well, that says a lot.
Yeah. And then Ryan Kine is running to unseat Mayor Esther Sanchez. And Ryan sits with me on Sandag as well. He's been very instrumental in continuing to help us focus on North County and the needs that we have here in North County, because we go so, we're like not treated the same as the big San Diego and Chula Vistas of the world. So we have to continue to keep our messaging on point that we deserve things here in North County. And and Ryan has the endorsement of Police, Fire, the Chamber, the gun owners, and the Lincoln Business Club. So all three strong proponents of 2A in Oceanside there, and they're working together, which is wonderful to see. Laura, Peter, and Ryan are out knocking on doors daily, and this would be another major win for conservatives in North County. So if we can get North County straightened out, perhaps we can see some more victories at other races. I mean, we've got school board candidates that are amazing in all three cities. So we have the opportunity. And
what has to happen for them to win? You know, the folks that we just talked about in Carlsbad, Vista, and Oceanside. What actions need to be taken in order to ensure their victory?
Well, Mike, I say the race is won at the door. I knocked on thousands of doors to get elected, and you have to stay on message, and you can't chase every little carrot that's in front of you. You have to stay on message about what you think is most important for your community. And I know these candidates are working hard. This is the time when you feel so exhausted that you might not be able to do it, for another day. But the momentum is on our side. I have in Carlsbad. You mentioned the top of the ticket at the top here, and I have seen Trump signs in Carlsbad. And I have never seen not just Trump signs, but any Republican signs. It's like, wow, this is crazy. For the top of the ticket, that is. Locally, we are very engaged. So we have a momentum as a party and as candidates, and they're doing the right thing. So keep on message, knock on the doors, spend your money in October, get those mailers out, and, contacting the voters and making sure they're showing up to vote. So that's the biggest part of this. You got to show up to vote.
Yeah, and for folks listening, helping directly with the campaigns, they need people to walk neighborhoods. They need people to make phone calls. They need people to stuff envelopes, stuff like that. San Diego County gun owners, we need your help. We need volunteers to come out and help. And we just talked about 3 of the 18 cities that we could have an impact on. We could actually, there would be a fundamental change in San Diego. It'd be a political change. It'd be a cultural change to be able to take back these city councils. So whatever you do,
Yeah,
don't sit back and think it's going to happen or someone else is going to do it. Jump on our website and volunteer. Jump on their website and reach out and say, hey, I want to volunteer. Because like Melanie said, there's just so much that needs to be done in order to ensure victory. What's one more race? What's another race? Those are 3 North County races. Any other races out there that you're excited about?
well, I have to say that the school board races this cycle in general in North County, I think are going to be, I have never seen so much parent participation in school board meetings and people paying attention to what is happening at their kids' schools. I went into my juniors classroom the other day, and there hangs a picture of a candidate for San Marcos City Council solicitation for volunteers to help this candidate. You can't do that in a public school.
Wow.
So we need people to pay attention and show up to vote.
Thank you, Melanie Burkholder from Carlsbad City Council. Thank you so much.
A self-defense event happens in seconds. And the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. I pray you're never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why the USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American should have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. Get signed up with our friends Adam Bendis. Give him a call at 619-318-6803. Signing up is real easy. Get the education and protection you need. Enjoy the peace of mind if you're ever in a self-defense incident. Call Adam now at 619-318-6803, and he will take care of all your protection needs.
We got a super chat from Mike White, who's listening and watching right now on YouTube. Thank you, Mike White. Appreciate all that you do. Excuse me, and thanks for coming down to the gun show a couple of gun shows ago in Mission Valley. But today, thanks for the super chat, my friend. Okay, subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list and win some swag. This week's winner is... Oh, Dave, now this is a name either one of us could get and not mess up. Winner is Skeeter Max. Skeeter Max, thank you so much. Email us at prizes@gunownersradio.com to claim your t-shirt or hat. And for all those interested in winning in the future, step number 1, have a name like Skeeter Max. That makes it easy for me to announce when you win. But step 2, and probably a little bit more important, go to gunownersradio.com, sign up for our newsletter, and see about everything that's going on, Second Amendment. Lead Talks tomorrow night. Lead Talks most Mondays, not every Monday, but most Mondays, we go live on Gun Owners Radio's YouTube channel, on Gun Owners Radio's X account, and then on Gun Owners Radio's Facebook page. And I quickly introduce a firearms instructor in Southern California, San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange, and you get to hear from them directly about something that they're passionate about, knowledgeable about, some kind of subject that they know a lot about and want you to know. And it helps introduce people to more instructors. It helps people who maybe haven't done any training find an instructor that they like. Or if you've done a lot of training with 1 or 2 instructors, it's time to find and expand your world of knowledge. And this will help you do that. So tomorrow at 7 p.m., we're having Lee from Barely Training. You also may remember him from Gunfighter Tactical. He's been on the show. He is a wonderful guy, and he's going to come on and talk tomorrow at 7 p.m. So join us tomorrow, Monday night, 7 p.m. for Lead Talks. And then also, this is important, Intro to Modern Off-Grid Communications class. Last gun show at the symposium, we had John Baldwin come on and give a class about ham radio. And it was gangbusters. People really enjoyed it. People liked it. And so we're doing a little modern off-grid communications class, October 19. And it's gun owners get their CCW and learn first aid so they can be their own first responder in an emergency. This class will teach you how to maintain communications if the grid goes down in case of an emergency. It's a 4-hour class. It's at American Shooters in El Cajon. They have a nice little area in the back. We're going to take over their classroom and teach you modern off-grid communications. Space is limited. Students will take home a Baofeng handheld radio. You sign up at gunownersradio.com. So go to gunownersradio.com, look for the modern off-grid communications class, October 19th, 2024. Limited number of spaces, and it's only 4 hours, and it's out in El Cajon. So check it out. Dave, do you remember a few years ago when the electricity went off in like the entire county for like, I don't know, it was like 18 hours or something like that? You remember how, like you basically couldn't use your cell phone. I remember sitting in the car with the car running just to charge my cell phone. And I remember listening to somebody on AM. Who was I listening to? Who was the guy that stayed on the whole time? Local, he's kind of a legend. The AM guy. Oh, man. Just his name just fell out of my head. Anyway, people were calling in and giving reports from all over the county. Here's what's going on here. Here's what's going on there. My point is, communication breakdown is real.
It's coming.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it before, and it's crucial. It's extremely crucial. So, this is a real class. This is real valuable information. And John Baldwin, we had him on the radio. He's super passionate about it. I can't think of anybody better to teach this class. So
you ought to hook up with Patriot Foods for people to get food back up.
Do you have a
No, all you got to do is just go to their website.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you told them you were put it on in a class, they would donate.
They would donate some food.
And it's good for 25 years.
Yeah, it's good stuff too.
2,000 calories.
Yeah.
A meal.
Yep. Freeze dried. Yep. So check it out. But yeah, man, I think there's a lot of good things happening here. Gun rights.
That would be a
policy
also,
conference.
not to change the subject,
Sure.
but with Patriot, they also sell a solar generator that'll keep two refrigerators and a couple freezers going. I mean, they've got water purification systems. They've got stoves, and I'm sure if we reach out and tell them what we're doing, they would donate product.
Do something, sure. I think it's important in California, and I know a lot of people, preppers in case the government and nuclear attack. We're in earthquake zone. There were just a couple of earthquakes recently. This stuff's the entire world doesn't have to fall apart for this stuff to be relevant.
Well, and the food I'm talking you're talking a case of food that'll last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and I think it's $30. $40, something like that.
6 weeks worth of food for
so
not a lot of money, and it lasts 25 years.
You stick it in a cool closet someplace. I'm telling you, if you don't think it's not around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, a little shake and rattle and roll. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot for things to shut down for a week.
Or if we lose the grid.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got situations where people over in Israel can set off phones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, stop and think about that.
Yeah, but even on a more simple, like if you lived in Minnesota or Wisconsin and you weren't prepared for a blizzard,
right,
you'd look like an idiot.
Right.
Well, we live in San Diego. If you aren't prepared for an earthquake.
Well, and it's around the corner too.
That's what I'm saying.
San Andreas Fault has been due for years.
And I think we've kind of been lulled into this, like, man, we've had earthquakes.
Well, of course
before.
we do. I mean, that's nothing out of the ordinary, people.
But anyway, if you don't want your neighbors to think you're crazy and you don't want to look like a crazy prepper, fine. Tell them you're preparing for an earthquake. Yeah. It's far more likely, and it's it's happened before.
Ham operating's fun.
Yeah,
because you can talk to people all around the world.
Yeah.
And and you can listen to emergency broadcasts. It'd be worth taking.
Ham operator.
Is there a fee for it?
That's a good question. Is there how much?
It's $4 $250.
How much?
$250.
$250
for the 4-hour class.
4-hour class. You get a Baofeng handheld radio. It's $250 for 4-hour class. American Shooters. So check it out. GunOwnersRadio.com. October 19. This is cool. I'm glad. I like seeing the more and more events that are educational that we're putting on here.
Be positive.
Change culture. Change the culture.
Absolutely.
It's really only three things we do, Dave. Culture,
Yeah.
lawsuits, elections.
That's it.
Those are the three things we do.
Not Me is for women, by women, and is designed to help women with their training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's totally free. If you're a woman or you know a woman who needs help, have her sign up and we'll give her the help she needs. To sign up, just go to notmesd.org, notmesd.org.
All right, my next guest is a friend of mine, wonderful guy. He started an organization called Active Valor. After he got out of the Navy, he was looking for a new mission in life, and so he started Active Valor to help Gold Star kids. And we're going to have him talk about exactly what a Gold Star kid is and what Active Valor does right now. Perry, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, my friend. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, good to hear from you, man. I hope you're doing great, and thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I'm a big fan of Active Valor. I think you guys are doing wonderful, wonderful work. Can you tell people what does Active Valor do, and what is a Gold Star kid?
All right. So Active Valor, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that's based here in San Diego County. With our mission, what we do is we take transitioning veterans that have gotten out of the service, and we pair them as ongoing mentors to Gold Star kids, which are kids who have lost a parent either in combat overseas or due to PTSD-related suicides while serving on active duty. And so with our mission, we have a program called Valor Adventures, and with that, it's a very themed, elaborate outdoor adventure series throughout San Diego that gives our veterans the chance to pass on their military knowledge, skill set, things that they've learned over their careers, and then be able to redirect and pass those down to these Gold Star kids that don't have that type of military experience in the home anymore.
That's amazing. That's an amazing mission, and I've seen amazing work come from you and Active Valor. You guys are doing really cool things, and you're touching.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're really touching people's lives, and I just can't even. I can't imagine being in the situation that those poor kids are in, and their moms too. So thank you so much for what you're doing. How did it come about? What made you start Active Valor?
We started back in 2016, so we actually just hit our 8-year mark this summer.
Hey, congratulations.
I appreciate that. So we actually started for the veteran aspect. We wanted an opportunity, especially, myself being a veteran and going through all of the different challenges I did with my transition, coming from the service now back to the civilian side of things. We wanted to help provide a means to get these vets back in the mindset of service. When we're talking about things such as like veteran suicide and how just how apparent that is and how devastating it can be for all of our service members. And I've unfortunately lost friends due to suicide as well. I know that's a very long-winded answer, but ultimately, for us, it boils down to you take away the mission and you take away the greater purpose that we had when we were in the service, and being able to, have that greater good and know that we were doing something great for our country. And it meant a lot. And so we wanted to, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you're helping the kids, which is, the most direct and obvious result of your work, which is great. You're helping the mom who's now, alone with the kid, which is another extremely great benefit. But then also the volunteers who are helping the kid and the mom, you're helping them too. You're giving them a way, an outlet for, in a mission now that they're out of the military.
Exactly. Yeah. We, again, coming from personal experiences, we just wanted a way to have these vets have that mission again, to have the purpose, to know that everything that they've sacrificed and done for us as a nation, they, again, get to redirect that and provide value to other people, which in turn, hopefully brings that peace inside. We get to know that, hey, I'm doing something for this family that it's so meaningful. It's a family that has gone through such tragedy, and now in return, you get the benefit of knowing that your service was still needed. And so you have that mission again, you have that fire ignited again. And, hopefully it just builds more strength and character. And just, it's something that we take a lot of pride in to see during these events when you get to watch the veterans and the Gold Star kids interact, and they're going through their missions, and they're having fun, they're smiling, they're putting all of their different griefs aside and putting aside whatever problems that the world's bringing, and they're just living in the moment. And it's such an incredible thing to see. Hearing about it is wonderful, but when you get to experience it and just kind of sit back and see like, wow, it's creating such an impact in multiple people's lives. It does a lot. And selfishly for me, again, with my struggles, selfishly, I'm able to see what it's turned into, and I get to have that inner peace myself as well. And so
that's cool.
That's all we really wanted to have, is just, an outlet to, have people come together. They get to heal in a process of, in the same time, have a good time. They get to help one another out. They get to create bonds and relationships that have been lasting for years. We have Gold Star kids and veterans that have been together since the beginning of Active Valor, and until now, we've gotten to see kids grow up, they graduate high school, go on to college. We've created relationships where now the veterans also have a means to where they're connecting with other vets. They get to be around other like-minded individuals, people that have gone through their struggles as well. They get to share stories. They get to, build friendships, relationships. We've been able to see some of our vets that have gotten married and had their Gold Star kids in their wedding parties. It's been really cool to see just the relationships and things that have come from it.
That's awesome. Now, when you started this, you were not a dad, but then recently you became a dad, and you have a beautiful little baby burrito that you welcomed into the world recently, and absolutely adorable. And I'm so happy for you and your wonderful wife, Jamie. How did your experience with Active Valor? How did that impact you as a brand new dad?
That's a good question. Yes. So right now she's 10 months old. And so obviously Active Valor has been such a big part of our life beforehand. For me now, I think it just builds a bigger appreciation, especially looking at what these kids struggle through with the program. And we have kids of all ages. At the start, I think the youngest one we had when we first started was 5, and just seeing the impact that it had in their life of just not having the dad in the house. And so I think just for me, it just brings more just importance on my role now, and obviously to strive to do my best, do my best as a father for her. But yeah, still trying to learn. There's a lot of things that are new for us, and a lot of learning curves, but I will say that she's been just such a big blessing in our household. And strangely enough, she's the least stressful part of our lives with everything we have going on with all of our, our programs. We both work full-time jobs. I have a whole other business that I own as well. And she's been just an angel, and we're super appreciative for the life that she's brought into the home, I guess. But yeah.
That's cool, man. So you do the events for Gold Star kids. What's walk us through like a typical event? When you have an event on a Saturday and you have the veterans and the Gold Star kids and the moms all come to a location, like walk us through exactly like a most recent event, or what maybe your most favorite event.
Yeah, so when we were starting the Valor Ventures program, it was really challenging to think of what it looked like. We wanted it to be fun, exciting. We wanted to also provide a learning experience for the kids as well. So really figuring out what that looked like was very challenging. So when I say they're out there, they're very out there in the sense of we try to think of scenarios where other programs don't offer these types of experiences. My favorite are always the Halloween events. Every fall we do a Halloween themed adventure. So we actually have our next one coming up here at the end of October. The first few we did, we had what were big zombie hunt missions. And so what they looked like is we actually had about 75 to 100 people come as role players. We had a professional FX makeup group come out to do costumes and makeup for everybody. And with the kids and the vets, they got grouped up into teams of 8. So we had 4 kids, 4 vets together as a team. And we actually had, we hosted over at the Carlsbad Safety Training Center. And so the nice SWAT facility over there, SWAT and fire facility. And so the kids and the vets actually go through their PowerPoint mission briefing. They get their top secret mission packets. They get all the information of what they're set up kind of like a scavenger hunt style event. And so they have all these things they need to find, collect, gather. But they also have the first few, they're armed with Nerf guns. And so all the kids and vets had Nerf guns. And they were trying to find all these items that they have to, with the constant threat of having all these role players out and about. And so it's so fun to watch because, one, they just get to run around and be kids and just shoot at people with Nerf guns for a while. We since have switched from Nerf guns to those gel blasters, so that we have fully automatic gel blasters that shoot those little hydrated Orbeez, which just makes things a ton more fun. And so this next one we have coming up is actually going to be a Jurassic Park theme instead of a zombie theme. And so same style where they're going to have their scavenger hunt style.
Wait, a what theme? I didn't quite make that out. What kind of theme?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, nice.
Yeah. So we did an alien invasion, our prior one, which was a ton of fun as well. And so just trying to keep it fun and exciting, but it is a production. It's a whole day event for us because we have to decorate the facility. We hand make pretty much all of the decor and stuff. So it's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. Plus you have to manage, all the role players. You got to feed everybody throughout the day. We have to get the whole ton of gear for everybody, for vets, for the kids, for the role players. It's a big production.
It is a big production.
To manage it.
And I know you get a fair amount of help from folks, but I want a very special thank you to your wife, Jamie, who does so much for this organization to support everything that happens. So big shout out to Jamie. You do a ton of work, and thank you for all that you do, Jamie. I know you're listening.
Yeah, she's the best. We we work very well as a team, and we also work very well under pressure. Yeah. So being just a month away, obviously, it's a lot of work.
All right, what's your website? And everybody, go to this website, donate $5 or $10 or something like that. Go ahead and give them your website.
Yeah, it's activevalor.com. And you can check out what we do. You can also look at all of the different videos that we've done in the past. So if you want to see what one of the adventures looks like, go ahead and check it out for yourself.
ActiveValor.com. Perry Yee, thank you, man. Talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If you're a business owner and you feel like you're wasting money on your marketing, it's probably because you are not talking to your customers in a way that they understand. A lot of companies waste money on marketing because they just don't have the words that make customers want to buy. That's why you should hook up with Sage Tree. Give them a call. They are San Diego certified Story brand guide. Story is the oldest form of communication, and Sage Tree can help you use it to grow your business. Getting started is real easy. Visit sagetree.com, click on the schedule an appointment button, and let them take over the rest.
Hey, so there's a couple things I wanted to talk about, a couple of subjects, a couple of loose ends. First off, someone in the chat just now asked that, hey, they need to update their credit card so that their San Diego County Gun Owners membership can continue to come out. Either $10 a month or $100 per year is for the Patriot level membership. All you have to do is go back to the join page, whether you're updating your credit card info or you want to become a member for the first time. Go to www.sdcgo.org/join. And you go through the steps, and if you are rejoining or you're updating your credit card info, our system will recognize that you're already a member, so you won't end up with 2 profiles, and we'll make sure that you're off and running, and boom, you've renewed your membership. If you're brand new, then that's the way to join, and we invite you to join. Like I said, we just passed 4,000 members in San Diego. We started in late 2015. with 0 members. And now, it's about 9 years later, we're up to 4,000 members. Some folks have come and gone, but this is the first time we've actually had 4,000 plus existing members all at once. So just go to sdcgo.org/join and renew your membership, re-up your credit card info, or become a member for the first time. I think it's important. I got to tell you, it's the most effective $10 you're going to spend all month. We get a lot done. We've gotten a lot done. So thank you all. Thank you to the 4,000 members, and thank you to the guy who asked how to update his credit card info in the chat there. So there's one thing I wanted to talk about. I saw this story, ex-Camp Pendleton Marine sentenced 37 months for illegal firearms sales. I don't like these gun laws any more than anybody else. I dislike them so much, I started an organization and went to work for it. I mean, this is my life's work. So I need you to understand that I don't support this at all. I am working as hard as I can to get rid of these gun laws. We filed lawsuits. We're getting the right people elected. We're raising awareness to change the culture. We're doing everything we possibly can. But in the meantime, you have to comply. And I think at the beginning of this whole thing 9 years ago, I was definitely the kind of person that was like, nah, nobody's going to come and make me blah, 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 blah. But what changed my mind is being on the other end of the phone when grown men call me in tears saying, hey, I didn't think it was going to happen to me. I didn't do anything that I thought would bring attention to myself, but here I am. I'm facing a firearms violation, for doing something that's normal in 49 other states, right? I mean, it is one of these stupid California laws. But the reality is they will come and jump in your head as hard as they can, figuratively. So a former Camp Pendleton Marine who sold nearly 24 unserialized quote-unquote ghost guns to undercover officers was sentenced Monday to just over 3 years in federal prison. Christian Ferrari, 23 years old. 23 years old, and this guy's about to do federal time and spend the rest of his life as a felon. Pleaded guilty to selling 22 rifles to officers with the ATF on 4 separate occasions last year. Federal authorities first learned of the gun sales in January of 2023. This, by the way, is Channel 7 San Diego, NBC. Riverside County sheriffs notified ATF when Ferrari was involved in manufacturing and selling guns and would be expecting a call from someone interested in buying firearms, according to prosecutors' sentencing memorandum. Now, and he went on to say, by the way, this poor guy, I almost called him a kid, and he feels like a kid at 23. He said, quote, I understand what I did is really wrong, and the possibility of the harm that could have been created just from my actions. Now, I don't know if he knew the law and was violating it, or he didn't know the law, or he just didn't think it was going to happen to him. It doesn't appear that this guy was making them in order to get them in the hands of prohibited people. It appears that he just thought, well, I can get away with this. And he's a Marine in Camp Pendleton. I'm betting he's not from San Diego or California. He's probably from out of state. So what he was doing, he didn't think was that big a deal because it's not illegal where he comes from. And they really tried to play up that, hey, this guy's a Marine, he's got his whole life ahead of him, whatever. And the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney, basically the guy that was prosecuting him, I really wanted to read this, quote, as an active Marine, Ferrari should have been more sensitive to the dangers of high-powered firearms in the wrong hands. As a Marine, he was supposed to serve the country, not make it or any other country more dangerous through the illegal manufacturing and peddling of ghost guns. Now, there's something I want to point out in this. You had the Riverside County Sheriff's Department who turned him into the ATF. That's 2 levels of law enforcement right there. And then you had an assistant U.S. attorney say, "Hey, wait a minute. We don't want to treat this guy with any kind of mercy. We want to really jump on his head because he's a Marine." So I do hear a lot of like, "Hey, I'm a veteran, therefore I'm a good guy. They're not going to be mean to me." That's wrong. Hey, law enforcement is they're on our side, and that's not right either. They got to do their job, or at least they're gonna do their job. And it's rare. Now, you may say to yourself, hey, Mike, I don't make unregistered firearms and sell them. But this is true on any gun law. They will jump on your head on any gun law that you violate. In fact, last week in the paper, I'm not going to talk about names or give specifics, but a local former Marine reservist, actually, about this kid's same age, was busted on it was a standalone assault weapons violation. This guy, that's it. He went to jail. He's being arraigned. He had to obtain an attorney, all because he had a long gun in California that was not configured correctly. This kid wasn't robbing banks. He wasn't doing anything evil. He was just living his life. And somehow they found out that he had a gun that was configured in the wrong way. And boom, he's now got a standalone assault weapons gun violation. Usually they tack these things on. So if you are a gang member, you're robbing a bank, you're beating somebody up, you're doing something else, then they'll tack on this assault weapons ban violation so that they can put you in jail even longer. Not with this guy. This was a standalone assault. That was it. That's the only reason he got arrested and went to jail. So what I'm trying to tell you is you're not going to get away with it. And don't try. And that's not, I'm not telling you that because I like these laws or think you should comply or whatever. What I'm telling you is I see this weekly. I hear about people who think it's never going to happen to them, or they're never going to draw any attention, or they're never going to catch them, or they're going to keep everything in their safe. They're never going to get caught. I've heard excuse after excuse after excuse. And then I've, told them, well, here's the attorney to call, and you're probably going to spend $50,000, maybe $100,000. And if you're not a felon, after all this is said and done, you're going to be lucky. I don't think it's right. I'm just trying to get across to you the reality of the situation, and I want you to know I'm doing everything I possibly can to change it. But in the meantime, don't do. You're not smarter than everybody else, and you're not braver than everybody else because you're not complying. Help me change the law, but in the meantime, you got to comply and keep your rights intact. It's so important. Okay, one thing I wanted to touch before we go to a commercial is a few years ago actually, I was off-roading close to the border with some friends of mine, and a border patrol, flagged me down and said, "Hey, have you seen anybody?" And I said, "No, we haven't seen anybody." He said, "Great, I need to search your Jeep." And I said, "Well, not without probable cause, you're not." And he said, "Well, my probable cause is your proximity to the border." And I said, I don't consent to any searches. And he said, "I can search your Jeep if I want to." And I said, "I don't consent to any searches." And he said, "Well, I'm going to look in your Jeep and through the windows and, if I see anything." And I said, "I don't consent to any searches." And he looked at it. It's a Jeep. You can't hide anything in a Jeep. I'm like, fine, whatever. Look through the windows. And then he said, "Hey, where are you going now?" I said, "I'm leaving the area." He said, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "I'm leaving the area." And finally, when it was clear that I was able to go, I left. But I wasn't going to give this guy consent. I wasn't going to give up my rights just because this guy decided he wanted to search my Jeep. And I've told that story. And by the way, my two passengers were like falling out of their chairs. They couldn't believe that I wasn't just consenting and doing whatever this law enforcement officer said. So I took the opportunity to explain, "Hey, man, these are your rights, and you should never waive your rights. They're never going to say, 'Hey, thanks for waiving your rights. Here's a pot of gold. Congratulations. You're even better off than you started.' The best you can hope for if you waive your rights is to just remain where you already are. So never do it." But I've told that story to others, and there's this confusion about the 100-mile border zone. And I wanted to clarify that just because you're close to the border doesn't mean you don't have Fourth Amendment rights. And there's some confusion on that. There is a 100-mile border zone, which is exactly like it sounds, from the border 100 miles in, that's considered a border zone. Now, what it really means is that according to online, I'm looking at ACLU. I'm looking at an attorney named John Helms. His law firm has a whole article written about it. Now, the Border Patrol can operate within that 100-mile zone, which, by the way, 2 out of 3 people in America live within that zone. So there's no way, I mean, just logically thinking, there's no way 2 out of 3 people in the United States don't have a Fourth Amendment right. But basically, they can go on, say, like mass transit, like a train or whatever, and say, hey, we're sure. But the other thing is, if you're going through a port of entry, then, they don't have to have good cause to search you. But if you're just simply going about your day and you're within 100 miles of the border, you absolutely have rights. In fact, I'm going to read what John Helms writes here. If you're stopped at a port of entry, border agents have the right to ask about your citizenship status as well as any items you're bringing into the country. While you have the right to remain silent, the ACLU warns that doing so means you're likely to be detained by Border Patrol. It's also possible Border Patrol will deny you entry in the United States, et cetera, et cetera. But just being close to the border, they still have to have probable cause. There still has to be a reason that they suspect you of committing a crime. I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Make sure that you go to a properly licensed attorney to get information. But I encourage you to go read more about this 100-mile zone. You don't simply have to waive your rights just because you're close to the border. You have a Fourth Amendment right. You can refuse to consent to a search or seizure, and I highly recommend you continue to assert your rights. Want to let everybody know?
Seal 1 gets compared to frog lube a lot. They are different, very different. With frog lube, you need degreaser, solvent, a lubricant, and a protectant. And how many different types of frog lube do you need? It's just too much and way more work than it needs to be. With Seal 1, it's one and done. Just wipe it on, wipe it off, and you are done. Buy some now at seal1.com.
Yeah. Plus, the name Frog Lube makes me blush a little bit, Dave.
Yeah, I agree.
You know how I am.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew, Sam, my nephew, the gunman. We found out that Sam is really good at gun trivia. So send us a question on guns. And if we use it on the air, we'll send you a hat or a shirt. And if you stump my nephew, we'll send you a super special prize. So today, Ed from Fallbrook is the guy who's going to get a hat or a shirt. Lucky Ed. So think of a really good question that has to do with guns, gun trivia, gun history, whatever. Email it to us. Info at gunownersradio.com. Email it to us. And let's see if we can stump Sam. Knock him down a notch. The guy's strutting around like a peacock. Let's get him. Let's stump him a couple times. Show him he's not so tough. How about that? Hey Sam, you there, man?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good. It's good to hear from you. How you doing?
Can't complain. How about yourself?
Doing great. Doing absolutely wonderfully great. Okay, today's question, Stump My Nephew, sponsored by Seal 1, the fantastic people at Seal 1. Again, from Ed, who lives up in beautiful Fallbrook. Ed wants to know, why was the grip safety added to the 1911?
Ed from Fallbrook, thanks for writing in. Why was the grip safety added to the 1911? Mm-hmm. It's an interesting question, and I'll work my way to it in a slightly roundabout way. Okay. Many firearm designers, many prominent names in firearm engineering throughout history, have had their designs leave their control and take on a life of their own because they were adopted by a major military or by a police force or something, and were changed in a way that was, I'll say, not necessarily intentional. People in literature call this death of the author, reinterpretation of the source material in a way the person who created it did not intend. One example of this is the forward assist on the AR-15 M16 platform. Eugene Stoner specifically did not design it on there because he saw it as unnecessary. Another example is the grip safety on the M1911 platform. All of them that you can buy at a gun store today have grip safeties. Some competition shooters will pin them in place to disable them. But the reason for the grip safety, for that added mechanical complexity in the fire control group of the gun, was because of a cavalry specification. And remember, this is the early part of the last century, so I'm not talking armored cavalry. I'm talking horse cavalry. The 1911 was built with a lanyard loop at the request of U.S. Army horse cavalry, because they wanted that ability to not lose the gun if they dropped it. And same with the grip safety. It was required for their specifications for the level of safety they wanted. We now know it's completely unnecessary, but that's why it's on there.
And for those listening, by the way, the grip safety, if you don't know, is when you grab the gun with the gun, when you actually grip the 1911, the web of your hand depresses a lever that's built into the grip, and that makes it possible for the firearm to actually fire. Without that depressed in, then it won't fire even if you pull the trigger. Did I describe that accurately, Sam?
Yep, it's a safety that automatically disengages. You'll see them on other firearms. The Smith & Wesson EZ has a grip safety. The Springfield XD family has grip safeties. And incidentally, for the same reason, because it's a rebadged, I forget the original designation, but it's a rebadged, I think it's the HS-2000 Croatian military pistol. And part of the military specification for that gun was it has to have a grip safety. So now all the Springfield XDs that you can point and laugh at today have grip safeties.
So the answer, now let's see if you got the answer correct. And there's literally one word. There's only one word. If you'd have left out one word, I don't think we would have given it to you. And you actually got that one word in there. And I'll tell you what that means. So the U.S. Army, here's the answer. The U.S. Army required a safety that would automatically engage. Now, if you had just said, well, the U.S. Army requires it, I would have said that's not specific enough.
Well, not just the Army, but the cavalry required it.
Well, I'm getting there.
Because it automatically disengaged.
I'm getting there. So the U.S. Army required a safety that would automatically engage. I wouldn't have counted if you just said, oh, well, the U.S. Army says so. If a cavalry soldier dropped his pistol, that's the part. So that cavalry part is what makes you got the question right. Everything else would have been far too general. Since then, 1911s have had a grip safety the entire time. So boom, you are correct. Correct. The part of the sentence or the part of the answer that makes that accurate is, of course, the cavalry part. That's amazing, man. Great job. Why do you know that?
Good question.
You just do, because you're Sam the Gunman. So what do you got? Do you have anything? Have you authored anything lately, or you working on anything, or anything you want to cover as far as blogs?
Yes, the fourth part of, I think I already mentioned this, the fourth part of Introduction to Optics is up, and that one covers prism scopes. I have my next blog post that's going up is sort of a more personal topic, and that is of... it deals with regret, basically. I'll say that because and how to avoid it. Because something I observed during the time that I worked at a gun store was the number of people who said, "Oh, golly gee, I wish I hadn't sold that gun," or "Oh man, there was a really good. I remember when you could buy a PSL for $600 and now they're $2,400. I wish I'd bought one." Those people who regret not buying it or getting rid of the gun outnumber the people who regret a purchase that they did make or who are happy they got rid of a gun, probably 10 to 1, I would say.
Wow. Okay, so you wrote an article on how to avoid regret when it comes to gun purchases, huh?
Yeah, that's basically it.
And the idea came from watching a bunch of regretful people in gun stores. Is that where you got the idea?
Pretty much, yeah. I swore to myself, I don't want to be one of these people who makes that decision and then spends the rest of his life feeling bad about it. So if I see a gun that, like, here's the way I look at it. If I can rearrange $600 or $300 or whatever it is to make that happen, I can replace the money. I can't replace feeling bad because I got rid of a gun I really liked.
That's interesting. Well, I look forward to reading it. When's that going up?
That's going bright and early tomorrow morning, or as I call it in my time zone, tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, cool, man. All right, awesome job. Anything else? What else do you want to talk about or cover? Anything else you want to make sure to touch on that we know about?
That's all I have for today. God bless America and all the ships at sea. And thanks, everyone, for listening. Good night.
Good seeing you, bud.
Yeah, I like his new sign-off.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. There you go. That was a good show. It was a lot of good information.
Definitely.
Good guests, good friends, good show.
So we got
food, folks, and fun.
We still got some minutes if you want to fill it.
Well, are you going to make it to GRPC, or you got plans coming up this weekend? It's this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I am. Wow.
You swamped?
Saturday, I'm working the Automotive Museum.
Oh, wow.
They're having their gala.
Nice.
Sunday.
Down in the Balboa Park?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. This GRCP, everybody listening, highly recommend you come on down. Of course, register first, but come on down, shake some hands. Even if you only watch one or two of the lectures, it's worth it just to walk around and see the folks that are going to be there. It's an important event.
What times it start?
Well, they're Friday. It's I just had it up, but it's all day, like 8 to 5.
Okay. All right.
Saturday, same. And then
get the information on
SAF.org. It's their event.
It's not on your website?
It's not on our website.
Okay.
But SAF.org. It's on our social media. But SAF is, of course, a big organization. We've partnered with them on some things before, and I really want you to come to this event. It's really, you can't beat the price. Yeah, Friday, September 27th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is AmCon. So like we were talking about, you'll see the, people that have YouTube videos and blogs and are authors, that sort of thing. And then Saturday, it is 8 to 5:30, and then Sunday is 9 to noon. So come on down. Come on down. You register in advance, but it looks like you can also register at the door. But if they sell out, if they fill up, then you might not be able to get in. So I would register now and go and check it out and bring a friend. And like I said, can't beat the price, man. It's 2.5 days of fun for free.
Wow, can't beat that with a stick.
Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.